Hey, good evening, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome here as we get ready for Flatout Racing Network's coverage of race number 2 of season 51 of the RTG Talladega Challenge. Last week, a very interesting start to the season, a race that went caution free, saw a number of drivers get hit with speeding penalties, and at the end of the night, a one-season winless streak was snapped with Dante Ricky going to victory lane and thusly coming into tonight's race as the points leader. 25 drivers took the green flag in last week's race, 31 drivers scheduled to take the green flag in tonight's event, and we'll wait and see if we may see our first caution of the season. Talladega, Daytona Superspeedways are known for the big one taking place. We'll see if it will be here tonight when we will see it. Folks, before we go to race here this season, we bring a driver in, try and get their opinions, their strategy on how they're going to approach this 2.66 mile super speedway. And tonight it's going to be the driver of the 08 Krispy Kreme Chevrolet. That is going to be the driver. Trying to find him here. That is going to be the driver of the 08 Glenn Harris. And let's see if we can find him here and get a word with him prior to going green. Hey Glenn, it's Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got me?
Yeah, 10-4.
Well, last week we saw no cautions here at Talladega. A little bit bigger field here today. So does that change up the strategy on what you're expecting to happen here tonight in the second race of the season?
No, I think this group out here is real talented. Got a lot of experience. Can run this thing caution free. Just have to watch the initial restart, get a good clean start, get lined up, and clean pit stops.
Yeah, we saw a number of drivers get hit with speeding penalties last week. Do you think that drivers are going to be a little bit more cautious when they come to pit road if we do get into those round of green flag pit stops?
I don't know, that first pit stop is the one that if we can get through that without any trouble, there are some that are pretty aggressive, come in pretty hot, and that's going to lead to some penalties if they're not careful.
Last week we saw you bring home your 08 machine in the 16th position. Here tonight, obviously, with the fact that early on in the season you can gain the most points in the most positions, what's the goal, especially when we get down to the end of this race? Where do you want to have yourself positioned?
Just a good drafting partner. Again, clean pit stops. I had a speeding penalty last week that got me behind the pack, so pit road is the key to this race.
Well, Glenn, a beautiful paint scheme out there. I'm going to try the best I can to concentrate on the race and not on the glazed donuts that your car makes me think of, but best of luck out there.
All right. Thank you very much. Have a good race.
And Glenn's going to be rolling off from the... I can bring up the running order here. Glenn's going to be rolling off from the 17th position here tonight at Talladega Super Speedway. Our pole sitter for tonight's race, there he is, Joe DeSpirito. Going to be starting on the inside of the front row for the second straight week. He was the pole sitter last week and is the pole sitter this week. So far, 100% starting on the pole position. And we'll see if maybe he can keep this streak going in the weeks to come. But Joe DeSpirito, last week, he finished third at the Talladega Super Speedway, comes in consequentially third in the point standings, 5 points back. Another interesting thing about Talladega last week, not only did we see a number of drivers get hit with speeding penalties, not only did we see that entire race go caution free, but we also ended up seeing only 5 drivers out of the 25 drivers that took the green for that race lead laps. Those drivers that led laps were obviously the eventual winner, Dante Ricky, Grant Wesley, Joe DeSpirito, Doug Woolley, and Jay Crivillo. And I believe that Crivillo and Woolley only led laps. Oh, gracious, Stephen Martell hitting the wall. But they only led laps during the cycle of pit stops. They actually did not work their way to the front through the pack to get out in front of the field. So really, if you look at it in terms of drivers that spent time out in front of the pack, we only really had 3 drivers out in front with the 84, 88, and 24. We are just a moment away here from the cars gridding up, and we will get ready to turn them loose here as Believe that zeros have hit the clock. We're just momentarily waiting for these drivers to line up on the front row. As you're looking at the 712 of Bob Seminara, he will actually be on the outside of the front row for this race. And there we go. We're getting ready to grid up for 66 laps of racing here this evening. Give me your full rundown, your starting grid for this race, as it's going to be Joe DeSpirito and Bob Seminara. That's going to be your front row. Burning Mobs and Chuck McClure will make up row 2. Donnie Garrett and last week's runner-up, Grant Wesley, they're going to be row 3. We've actually got some word about Grant Wesley that we will fill you in on in just a few moments. Bob Dixon and Jessica Shelton will be row 4. And completing the top 10 is going to be Mark Paglia and John Godfrey. Chris Elliott will roll off 11th, followed by Josh Metallic. Dave Melson will be 13th with Wiley Coaten 14th. Completing the top 15 will be Perry Bond. 16th will be Billy Elliser. Row 9, we find Glenn Harris, who we just talked to moments ago, and Richard Martin. Wayne Primnow will be 19th rather. And 20th, a driver that, to my knowledge, we have not seen, or at least since we started broadcasting, we've not seen in a Tally Challenge race. That's going to be the 103 of Carson Krentz. Jeffrey Elliott and Manny D going to make up row 11. Row 12, Stefan Martel and Mike Rogers. Row 13 will be Benoit Plord and Terry Bombard, who we didn't see last week. Row 14, Sonny Tolman and Cy Jones. In row 15 will be Doug Woolley and last week's winner, Dante Ricky. And Bobby Farrell will be rolling off from the 31st position. 31 drivers to take the green flag here tonight. So we'll wait to see here when they turn them loose if we'll see another 66-lap green flag race. This race here tonight, based off of what we were told when I was talking with a bunch of the drivers after last week's race, the bigger the field, the more likely we are going to see a caution flag come out. Only 25 drivers were last week's race, 6 more added this week. We're going to have to wait and see if indeed we will see the first caution of the season. Now, we're going to talk about Grant Wesley real quickly here. I was just notified that Grant will not be in next week's race, as he will be at the Bristol night race that the NASCAR Cup Series will be running next week. And so Grant Wesley going to try and get all the best points he can here today. Of course, finished runner-up in last week's race to Dante Ricky. Comes in second in the point standings consequentially. So be watching for that 88 car to try and keep himself up front all day long. Also going to be interesting too is, we talked to Glenn Harris about T finishing mid-pack in last week's race. A number of drivers, even playoff contenders from last season, really struggled in the first race last week. Richard Martin's 18th in points. Bob Seminara, who's starting on the outside of the front row here, he's 20th in points. Donnie Garrett, who's rolling off from 5th, he is 21st in the standings. And Mark Paglia, who was in the playoffs last week, or last season I should say, got hit with 3 speeding penalties last week. He was 23rd in the running order. So we'll wait and see what happens in this one. 66 laps of racing here this evening at the Talladega Superspeedway. It's Joe DeSpirito leading them to the green flag for the second time this year. And we're rolling at the Talladega Superspeedway. Shelton moving to the outside there on Donnie Garrett. Now tucks back in line. We almost had a 3-wide situation as early as turn 2 on the first lap. Is outside line very well formed. Seminara has McClure, Wesley, Garrett, and Shelton. DeSpirito and Mobs all by themselves on the inside line, and they're starting to fade towards the back. Now about to get some help from the McDonald's machine of Bob Dixon. But DeSpirito has already dropped from the pole back to a battle for 4th place as Bob Seminara. Looks like for the moment, he is going to be the one that will lead us to the completion of the first lap here this evening at Talladega, followed by a bunch of Chevys, McClure, Wesley, and Garrett. Shelton trying to swing around the outside of Joe DeSpirito for 5th. She will clear him. Help from John Godfrey in the 7-11. Now Shelton tucked up to the bumper of Donnie Garrett. I think that Godfrey is now cleared DeSpirito, and DeSpirito is going to the back quickly. Josh Metallic now trying to get around. That would be for the 7th position. Metallic crossed the line second last week, but he crossed the line as the first car one lap down, finishing in the 10th position. Certainly looking to improve on that. I think Metallic actually was another of the drivers that was hit with a speeding penalty in last week's race. And it was interesting because we were talking with Glenn Harris before we ended up having these drivers grid. It was just during happy hour. And he said that the first pit stop is important for these drivers. It kind of sets the tone for the rest of the race. So from what he told us, it sounds like these drivers, they're still going to try and gain as much as they can in terms of hot pitting here and running the possible risk of getting a speeding penalty this week. And I'm looking towards the back, and I can't help but have a replay in my mind of last week, because last week during the first run, we were kind of documenting about seeing Dante Ricky running towards the back the whole time. Well, he's running the exact same strategy again. Last week's winner did not set a time in qualifying this week. Started off from the 30th position, and right now is running at the tail end of the field. There he is. Right now, currently in that 29th position, as it looks like we didn't have a couple of drivers take the green flag. Not certain who those drivers were. We'll try and update that, as there were supposed to be 31 drivers taking the green, and right now only 29 of them out on track. There's Sonny Tallman in the 55. Sonny had a great debut last week. He finished a lap down the 11th position as he had a bit of a pit road incident during the green flag pit stop. But saw him working with Dante Ricky a lot in last week's race. It looks like the two of them have adapted the Joe Gibbs racing strategy of riding at the back here early yet again, as Shelton jumps up to the top side with Josh Metallic, trying to see if she can make something work from the 5th position. John Godfrey down the bottom with Joe DeSpirito trying to work his way back to the front. And now up further towards the front, Chuck McClure is going to step out of line on Joe DeSpirito. He's got Wesley with him, Donnie Garrett, and now Shelton, Metallic, and Wiley Cope back there. They've got 3 cars up ahead, helping to tow that outside line. Shelton's going to go a lane higher. We're going to be 3 wide for the 3rd position going into turn 3, and as soon as I get excited, it's going to go back to double wide as Donnie Garrett moves down to the bottom with Grant Wesley and Chuck McClure. Shelton, though, still on that outside line. Now we're 3 wide again. Donnie Garrett's going to put Grant Wesley in the middle. Shelton almost comes down out of the door of the 88. And look at the run Shelton's getting. She might lead this lap over Chuck McClure. It's going to be close between the 94 and the 17. Garrett's going to make it 3 wide. Who's going to lead the lap here at the stripe? I think Garrett's going to get it by a splitter, as we are 3 wide for the lead. That's the first time I've said that all season as well. We were basically double wide mostly for the lead in last week's race. We're 3 wide, 3 rows, almost 4 rows deep here through the pack, as we nearly had a wreck there. John Godfrey almost pushing up into Grant Wesley. Now we're starting to get a little bit nervous here, as drivers trying to give each other room, but at the same time trying to maybe pinch each other down to get the middle and that outside line working. Donnie Garrett now going to go to the point, edges out ahead over a 3 wide battle for second. It's Seminara on the bottom, McClure in the middle, Shelton still up on the top side, and I must be seeing double because there's 2 Oscar Mayer machines on the track. One's a Ford and Metallic, one's a Dodge and Wiley Coat. They're both pushing Shelton on the outside line, as now that inside line starting to get the momentum. Garrett is cleared for the lead. Seminara's going to clear for second, and all of a sudden that middle and outside line is kind of stalled out just a little bit, which actually surprises me because it looks like all lanes are pretty much even in terms of numbers. And now as I say that, you see the middle line only has about 4 or 5 cars in it now, really only 3 up here at the front. That outside line though, the extreme outside line has quite a number of drivers lined up. You got Shelton up there, Metallic's up there, Wiley Coates up there, Billy Elliser, Carson Krenz, as well as I think that's Mike Rogers in the 11 back there as well. And now you're starting to see that middle line dissipate. Glenn Harris is caught in the middle. Mark Paglia there as well. And now in that middle line further up, you got Grant Wesley shoving Chuck McClure, trying to make something happen. But they don't have any numbers there in that middle lane. Oh, we got a blinker. Bernie Mobbs in the 90. And nothing kills a 3 wide situation more than a car blinking and side to side. As Bernie right now in the middle of a bit of hairy situation, kind of boxed in. We've got a car dropping to the back there. find out who that was. That was 57 of Stefan Martel, who is making his first start of the season. Number of drivers actually making their first start of the season that we didn't see in last week's race. Terry Bombard is one of those drivers. Back here in the 10 machine. Look here in the middle of the pack as Mark Paglia is dropping like a rock. He's now going to tuck in line in front of Carson Krenz. That 28 car, which was up inside the top 10, is now faded all the way back to the 15th position. Shelton's now found a way down to the inside line behind Richard Martin. And now it's Chuck McClure trying to get that outside line going with Wesley. Metallic and Coate have moved down to the middle line as well. As up at the front, Donnie Garrett showing the way still. Bob Seminara there in second. John Godfrey currently in third. And to his right rear quarter panel is the outside line being led by Chuck McClure. That is your side-by-side battle at the front currently as they run. And all that three-wide mayhem we saw suddenly, it's completely dissipated. We're back to double-wide racing from third place all the way back to the rear of the field. Top two are the only ones that are clear for the moment. Donnie Garrett last week ended up finishing in the 21st position. And I mentioned when we had our interview pre-race with Glenn Harris about the fact early on in the season, if you're gonna gain spots in the standings, do it in the first 5 races when the points are as close as they are and you've got an opportunity to be able to gain a lot of positions in the standings. Because remember, the way that it works here with the Talladega Challenge, you have to be in the top 10 of the point standings to advance into the playoffs. That's why you see Dante Ricky in the field here tonight, because yeah, he's got to win, but he still has to maintain his points lead or at least maintain a spot inside the top 10 to be battling for the championship this season. As Chuck McClure, you saw him pinching down Donnie Garrett moments ago. There is no side draft in Air 2003, but you can pinch that inside line down, force them not to get as good an exit off of either 2 or 4, and then get that straightaway speed. And that's what Chuck McClure did not allow Donnie Garrett to be able to get the straightaway speed, and now he goes to the front. Grant Wesley into second. They're trying to pull that middle line with them. Where'd that 9 come from of Chris Elliott? All of a sudden I see his bright red Dodge up here in the mix. He was looking 3 wide by himself, trying to get around the outside of Billy Ellisor, but now tucks in line behind the 26 and just in front of the 056. I believe that is Jeffrey Elliott. It is. So you got Elliott's nose to tail right now in the 9 and the 56. Might have a driver maybe losing the draft back here. That's the 57 of Stefan Martel. We've already got a driver that's lost the draft, and that's the 00 of Wayne Pribnow. Pribnow rolled off from the 19th position. He's all the way back in 30th, so actually there's one driver that did not make the start of this race, and I believe that driver is the 45 of Bobby Farrell, who was scheduled to roll off from the 31st position. And all of a sudden, we're starting to get ready to talk about green flag pit stops. The fuel window for these drivers is about 19 to 21 laps. However, we saw a lot of drivers in last week's race coming to pit road between laps 17 to 19. So we'll see if we see people coming to pit road at that point as well. I've just been told that a lot of these drivers are running with about 8 laps projected. So we put them right around 2021. We'll see if anybody actually does come to pit road early like they did in last week's race. I'm pretty sure lap 17 is when we saw a number of our front runners hit pit road. And it really was only about maybe 3 groups that came to pit road during that first cycle of pit stops as well. It wasn't split up in any more or any less than that. So we'll see if that's going to be the case here in this one as well. As so far, it's still green. We've been able to run a total of 79 laps this season without a caution flag. And let's see if maybe we can go 2 for 2 in caution-free Talladega races. Well, you can just see them pushing each other here down the front straightaway. This is something that I don't really remember seeing a lot of last season either. Is drivers right up on the back bumper of each other, pushing each other down the straightaway. And you saw them on the front stretch, how the 17, no daylight between his bumper and the 88, and again, no daylight between his bumper and the 39 is, Metallic sees that inside line with a big run. He's going to step down to the bottom, and pick up Wiley Coate, Donnie Garrett, Bob Seminara. All of a sudden, Chuck McClure and Grant Wesley, who were first and second, they look to drivers left and see a whole bunch of cars going by as Metallic going to go to the point. Metallic, a former winner from last season, and they've got a slower machine of Wayne Pribnow coming up here as well, so maybe that's why they feel it's time to move. We're 3 wide mid-pack as well. That's the Elliots up on the top. Chris and Jeffrey working to the top side of Mike Rogers in the middle. Richard Martin, Jessica Shelton down on the inside line, and now Billy Elliser's caught in the middle line. We'll see if the 9 and 56 try and continue this third lane, or if the 26 is going to jump up there and try and help. Carson Krentz is also up there as well in the 0-3 machine. Oh boy, this is going to be tough for these guys to be able to make their way around that 0-0. Where is the 56 going to be able to go? We may have to go 4 wide. No, he will find a way behind Mike Rogers and in front of Carson Krentz. They'll get around him in a 3 wide formation, and that's a much better scenario for everyone involved. This up front, it will be Metallic, who is cleared for the top spot. Wiley Coate pushed him there. He's maybe clear for second. Not quite. McClure's still there, just barely to his right rear quarter pail. Might have him cleared when they get down here into turn 1. Donnie Garrett in third, or at least battling for third with Chuck McClure. Now you got Bob Seminara and Grant Wesley lined up there side by side. That is for the 5th position. And one driver that has not been able to make his way back up to the front, he's been really boxed in, is our pole sitter, Joe DeSpirito. You can see him back there, that Pepsi Chevrolet, right now unofficially scored in the 8th position. And that's after he ended up getting shuffled out on that inside line at the initial start of this race after starting on the pole position. He has not been able to make his way back up to the front since. Well, for Chuck McClure and for Josh Metallic, those drivers leading their first laps of the season so far. As mentioned, only 5 drivers led laps last week, and the only driver that, actually, I was going to say the only driver that's led a lap here in both weeks, and there has been none. Because I thought DeSpirito actually led a lap, but he didn't. He didn't lead the first lap. The first lap was actually led by Bob Seminara. So far, none of our race leaders from last season have been able to lead a lap in this one. And we're going to start to see the pit stops very soon, because this is coming to the completion of lap 17. Who's waving the hand out the window? Who's coming to pit road? And I think we had one. I think we had a taker. I think Bob Dixon in the 143 just hit pit road. And he's coming by himself. That's not what you want to do when you're at Talladega. You see Bernie Mobbs back there. I don't know if I think the 90 already made a pit stop as well. Saw him having connection issues earlier, and I wonder if maybe he dropped back because of that. But no, I think he actually did come to pit road. So Bernie Mobbs and now Bob Dixon have hit pit lane. And it looks like drivers are now indicating they are all going to be coming to pit road. We could end up having ourselves an incident here. We've seen it before, and incidents that take place on the access road coming to pit lane don't necessarily bring out a caution. Pit road can be just as treacherous here as the racetrack itself, as here they come, Metallic, Coate, Garrett, and there we go. Godfrey's going to get spun back up the track. That's going to bring out a caution. First caution of the season as Godfrey got hooked off the nose of somebody. Metallic brings his car back up on the track. I'm not sure if he hit the commitment line or not, or if he was able to turn back to the right in time. Donnie Garrett and others, they're going to come down pit road anyway. Wiley Coate, Bob Seminara, Richard Martin, Joe DeSpirito, all in this lap. A couple of other drivers turned back onto the racetrack, including Doug Woolley in the 99. Looks like DeSpirito, Seminara, they did not take service. And the car that got spun around right there, the 711 of Godfrey, what's happening to Manny D? He just went down and hit the inside wall. And he hit it a ton. I would say that's a mechanical problem, maybe on the 710. Because that car just shot to the left all of a sudden. Doesn't look like any damage there on John Godfrey, though. He did a pretty good job of saving it. Unfortunately, when he spun back up the track, most of the field had already passed by, so nobody else really got involved. So we dodged one there. But the first caution of the day, first caution of the season, going to take place on lap 18 here in race 2 of the Talladega Challenge. Chuck McClure is going to be bringing the entire field down pit road, I do believe. And as they does that, let's take a look at a replay of what brought out the caution. And then I want to go back and take a look and see what happened there as well with Manny D, because just on first look, it looked like something went horribly wrong, maybe mechanically, maybe with his wheel or something. Car just jerked to the left and never slowed down. Don't think it was a case of him nearly running somebody over and trying to avoid them, but maybe it was. Well, the replay will obviously confirm all suspicions. And we'll try and figure out as well who it was that actually got into the 7-Eleven. It was actually the 24 of Joe DeSpirito that got into him. Watch this coming off of turn 4. And watch the car just behind him, the pole sitter. Oh, yeah, just gets him into the right rear quarter panel. And you can see right there, fortunately, everybody, for the most part, had already gotten by. Only a couple of drivers there had to make some evasive maneuvers. Dante Ricky, Terry Bombard, Sonny Tallman, and others. And that's really tough there, because with a lot of drivers coming to pit road at that point in time, it's really hard to be able to gauge where they're going to be and where you're going to be. And we're just going to show just how difficult it is to get to pit road when you've got a whole bunch of drivers. We're going to go on board with our pole sitter, Joe DeSpirito, and see what he saw from his point of view. Well, it's like he thought about maybe going around the outside of the 7-Eleven to come to pit road. Oh, and actually the 39 had already crossed the pit cone. You can clearly see it there. So that will more than likely be a 30-second penalty on Josh Metallic. And more than likely, we're going to see Metallic, who ended up coming to pit road from the race lead, we're going to probably see him be starting EOL in the field here for this restart. So a very costly mistake there for Metallic. I don't think anybody was alongside of him, so I'm not really sure why he actually turned back onto the racetrack. But that is certainly not what he wanted to have happen, as we've got a lap machine that's going to be coming to pit road now, and that is the 00 of Wayne Prim now. Looks like Joe DeSpirito is coming back down in the 24. I think he actually stayed out to lead a lap, did DeSpirito. Remember, he didn't take service on his when he came down pit road because of the timing of that caution. And so I think he wanted that lap lead that he didn't get back when he started on the pole. And I'm going to take a look here now at the incident with the 710 of Manny D, because this one is really confusing. So he's got Sonny Tallman in the 55 just ahead of him. And let's see if maybe he almost ran to the back of the 55 and tried to avoid him. Oh, yep. They were starting to slow down, and he was trying to slow down. He knew he was going to probably run to the back of the 55, so he just turned it to the left. Saw him still on the brakes and hits an inside wall pretty good. And that is a pretty hard lick to take to the race car. It doesn't look like it gave him, any engine damage as far as any smoke coming out or anything, but we'll have to see how that affects Manny D for the remainder of this race. So the race lead, when we go back green, as we got multiple drivers coming down and topping off the fuel tank, including Terry Bombard, Wiley Coate, Donnie Garrett. It's going to be, the race leader is actually going to be the 143 of Bob Dixon. Now remember, Dixon came to pit road first car by himself when those pit stops began, so he was able to stay out. Thusly, he inherits the race lead. Grant Wesley's going to line up in second. Third's going to be Chris Elliott. And then the rest of the top five is going to be Jeffrey Elliott in the 56. And Jessica Shelton in the 94. Top 10 is going to be Carson Krentz, Mark Paglia. Dante Ricky's now going to be up to 8th. 9th's going to be Glenn Harris. And completing the top 10 is going to be Mike Rogers. You see the 00 of Wayne Prim now there. Only car that was a lap down here under this green flag run, so he will get the free pass and be back on the lead lap. So all 30 drivers that took the green to start this race should be back in the lead lap when we go back racing, and we are about a third of the way through this race. Lights should be going out this next time by. It's going to take them a little bit of time to get around Talladega Superspeedway, so we're going to step aside for a quick commercial break and be back for the green. You won't miss a thing, as we're going to go FRN side by side.
Since the VFW was founded, their mission was really to look out for the veterans community, to make sure that our nation upholds its promise to really care for the service member, the veteran, and his or her family. There are several ways that the VFW fights for veterans today. The top services include disability claims assistance, advocacy on Capitol Hill and with the Department of Veterans Affairs. We also offer scholarship opportunities, and then also volunteerism. For me personally, when I came back from Iraq, my life experience was drastically different from those around me, and the veterans of foreign wars really spoke to me. The reason I would...
Pace car has made the left-hand turn onto pit road. We're getting ready to go back racing here with a total of 44 laps to go here this evening in race 2 of the Talladega Challenge, and Bob Dixon did not get going. Grant Wesley is going to edge ahead barely, and will he be able to clear the 143 by turn 1? He might be clear. No, not quite. And Dixon is going to edge ahead with help from fellow Dodge Chris Elliott. I'm being told that a number of drivers that we see towards the rear of the field, like Donnie Garrett, Joe DeSpirito, and others, the reason they're back there, I mentioned them making a second pit stop. Well, that's because they had to actually serve EOLs for coming down and servicing under a closed pit. So I thought that they had actually not taken service. Apparently they did. So those guys have a long road to hoe to get back up to the front of the field as Bob Dixon leads his first laps of the day. First laps of the season. Shelton trying to make a third lane work there through the tri-oval, as she doesn't have really any help behind her. Currently, Mark Paglia is about a conk and a half back. You see them slicing and dicing mid-pack, though, as on the inside line, it's Bob Dixon and the Elliots. Ooh, Chris moves up just the least little bit there in turns 1 and 2. And how about the guy we talked to pre-race, Glenn Harris there in the Krispy Kreme Chevrolet. Boy, I wish Clark Summit, Pennsylvania was closer to where I live, as he's got that machine currently in the 4th on that inside line, currently unofficially in the 8th position. And how about a great run there for the 0-3 of Carson Krentz, making his debut on the season, his first start, at least for 2 seasons to my knowledge. And right now, he is currently on the outside, 4th in the outside line, up inside of the top 10. He's got last week's winner, Dante Ricci, there with him, and he's also got a very loose Benoit Plord underneath him, as Benoit Plord had his left sides down on the apron and was going back and forth and back and forth. That's kind of scary, because sometimes that can shoot the car right up the track in the center of that tri-oval. Fortunately, he was able to keep all 4 wheels underneath him, and Bob Seminara might have to check his pulse, as he was right behind the 87, who was trying to gather it back in. But up front, nobody is getting an edge, and as soon as I say that, now the outside line's forging ahead. But Grant Wesley and Bob Dixon, they were side by side about halfway down that back straightaway. Wesley, though, with a big push from Jessica Shelton on the top side. Remember, Grant finished 2nd here last week. He's trying to get as many points as possible this week, because he will not be taking part in next week's Talladega Challenge event. And of course, Grant was in the championship pump last season in the Talladega Challenge, advancing to the Final 4, as it's like Dante Ricci is actually moving back towards the rear of the field yet again after being up here inside of the top 10 on the restart. Another driver that's back there as well, and I thought he might actually be in danger of losing the draft, was the 10 of Terry Bombard. It looks like he is actually caught back into the draft, and he is running at the tail end of the field as well. Manny D back there in the 710. Looks like his car is still up to speed after clobbering the inside wall with the left side of his machine, and all of a sudden, that inside line is completely stalled out. Wesley to the lead, Shelton to 2nd. They're trying to bring Mark Paglia along with them in the 28 car. And behind them, they are 3 wide. Let's jump back to that. Perry Bond is in the middle. Richard Martin's on the top side. Josh Metallic trying to work his way back to the front after he had a problem on pit road when that caution came out. Now Doug Woolley's going to go to the inside line, as now, oh my goodness, Seminara, McClure, Metallic all jump up to that 3rd lane. Got about 7 fast cars up in that 3rd groove. Let's see what they can do, as they're kind of getting a little bit crowded up there by John Godfrey and Doug Woolley, but it's Seminara leading the charge. Oh, Godfrey jumped up maybe a little too late. They nearly wrecked as McClure had to take evasive action and jump into the middle behind Mike Rogers. That could have maybe been timed a little bit better because it was close to being a bumper grab between the 711 and the 712, but they kept it together, and we are 3 wide mid-pack right now with Godfrey, McClure, and Benoit Plord, and they're looking like they want to go 3 wide further up here at the front as well. A couple of drivers have taken some peeks. Carson Krent's been looking out there just a little bit. Shelton we've seen peek out just a tiny bit as well. As right now the 3 wide formation is back around the 11th position. Oh, there we go. There's a wreck. Hard into the wall. That's Dave Melson, the 13. Other drivers involved as Godfrey goes up and into the air. Rear end of his car leaves the ground. Billy Elliser, someone else shooting down to the inside and hits the wall hard. That's Melson again in the 13. Manny D, I think, got involved in that, and there were a number of drivers collected up in this one. I saw the 26 of Billy Elliser, the 17 of Chuck McClure. Wiley Cope may have gotten a piece as well. And that's the biggest wreck we've had so far this season. It brings out the second caution of the day. Field is frozen as they bring it back down to the start-finish line with Grant Wesley over Jessica Shelton and Mark Paglia. And Bobby Farrell has returned back to the racetrack. Well, she's just now gotten onto the racetrack in the 45 car. Jeffrey Elliott in the 56 was one of the first drivers I saw around. He and the 13 of Dave Melson, I think, is where the wreck initially started. Harry Bond may have gotten a piece. I know Billy Elliser was involved, although I think he got in the brakes before hitting the inside wall. Carson Krentz might have actually gotten a bit of it also, and one driver that I know got some pretty good contact was the 13 of Dave Melson. Got rear end damage. I'm not sure which part of the race car he hit that inside wall with, but I saw a set of skid marks that went right down towards the inside wall there, just heading towards turn 3. So caution is going to come out here, closing in on the midway point of this race, and right now it looks like these drivers, it'd be really close if they can make it the rest of the way on just one pit stop. They'd have to do a lot of saving on the green flag run if we do go green the rest of the way. But let's go back, take a look at a replay of what brought out the second caution of the day. And like I said, I'm pretty sure this started with the 13 of Dave Melson and the 56 of Jeffrey Elliott. It was hard to tell how the contact happened, whether it was bumper grab, whether it was a door bang that went wrong, or maybe just a case of running out of room. As we're going to see if we can find a good camera angle here. May have to go to the spectator cam to get an idea of just exactly what happened. And we'll try and see what TV1's able to give us here, as my focus for the most part at the time was at the 3 wide situation. So take a look and see off of turn 2 and down the back straightaway. We're focused on the 13 of Dave Melson. Car that he makes contact with is the red, black, and white machine, just kitty corner to him there, the 56 of Elliott. And does Elliott maybe bumper grab off the 9? Oh, he does. And he gets up into Carson Krentz. Dave Melson has nowhere to go. Krentz goes down there, shooting to the right side of the screen. There's McClure, Benoit Plord, Mike Rogers got involved. We're going to go back and look as well at some other drivers that might have been involved. There's Billy Elliser in the 26, and Melson, he's going to hit with the front. Oh, that's not good. And why I say that's not good, that's going to affect him speed-wise, aerodynamic-wise in the draft. That's a hard impact there. There's Manny D in the 710. Donnie Garrett, remember Donnie Garrett and Joe DeSpirito had to start rear of the field. They were actually back behind this. And I want to go and see about some of the other drivers that were collected up in this wreck also. That was a wild ride there for the 711 of John Godfrey, getting up and into the air. Fortunately, the car came back down on all 4 wheels. And we're going to play this right from the time of the contact. A couple other drivers that got pieces of this incident that I didn't name. The 99 of Doug Woolley, I think, got a piece of this. See who it is that sends Godfrey up and into the air. Might have been Bernie Mobbs in the 90 that made the contact that sent him up. Wayne Pribnow back there was spun around. That Josh Metallic in the 39? It is. He got a piece of it. Ooh, Benoit Plourde actually hit the outside wall pretty good. Elliser goes sliding in between Mike Rogers and John Godfrey. Oh, we had a lot of drivers actually hit the inside wall back here, including Mobbs, Krenz, Pribnow, and Woolley. See who got the worst of the impacts there, and looks like it may possibly have been the 0-3 of Krenz. You'll see him up there. There's the contact right there. Elliott actually goes up and gets into Krenz first, and then into Melson. And you're going to see right there the 0-3 go shooting off to the right. And then here comes Bernie Mobbs. Here comes Pribnow. Ooh, Elliott got that inside wall pretty good as well, the 56. Left side hit for Krenz. Bernie Mobbs with a pretty decent hit as well. Oh, and then Bernie Mobbs gets hit by Wayne Pribnow also. McClure went for a spin. I thought that Wiley Coate might have been involved, but he got through. Metallic, I think, just went for a harmless spin as well. But there were a number of drivers that took some pretty good shots into the inside wall. Melson, Pribnow, Mobbs, Elliott. So we'll see if those drivers are going to be up to speed when we go back green or not. Light still on atop the pace car as I believe everybody was on pit road, and nope, not everybody. We did have a driver decide to stay out, and that is the 7 of Cy Jones. So he'll get himself a lap led. And it looks like he will be coming to pit road this time, which will turn the lead over to, I believe, Grant Wesley in the 88. Terry Bombard, I think, is he a lap down machine? He is. Somehow Terry lost a lap, so he's going to be the recipient of the freed pass on this caution, as well as Wayne Pribnow. Bobby Farrell is multiple laps down, so he's going to have to rely on quite a number of cautions to get himself back onto the lead lap, as I think he might be taking the wave around here. So the 10 and the 00 taking the lucky dog, the 45 taking the wave around. It's going to be Grant Wesley who's going to be the leader when we go back green, followed by Jessica Shelton. Mark Paglia, looks like Joe DeSpirito, and Bob Seminara is going to be your top 5 when we go back green. So DeSpirito and Seminara doing a good job getting through that wreck. Now up inside of the top 10. It's going to be Donnie Garrett. I'm sorry, make that to Richard Martin rather in 6th. Donnie Garrett in 7th. 8's going to be Glenn Harris, followed by Bob Dixon and Stefan Martel. That's going to be your top 10. 11th place will be Dante Ricky. 12th, Wiley Coate. 13th, Chuck McClure. 14th, John Godfrey. 15th, Josh Metallic. 16th, Manny D. 17th, Bernie Mobbs. 18th, Wiley Coate. 19th, Dave Melson. Going to be interested to see how up to speed that 13 car is. Looks like completing the top 20 is going to be Perry Bond. 21st will be Chris Elliott. 22nd, whoa, gracious. It's going to be Sonny Tallman. I'm sorry, actually make that Benoit Plourde. 23rd will be Mike Rogers. 24th, Billy Elliser. 25th, Sonny Tallman. 26th, looks like they're not able to figure out who's actually going to have the spot. I think it's actually going to be Jeffrey Elliott in 26th. 27th, Carson Krenz. At 28th is going to be Cy Jones, who just was on pit road. 29th, now back on the lead lap, is going to be Terry Bombard. 30th back on the lead lap is Wayne Pribnow. And currently about 14, 15 laps down, I think, is Bobby Farrell, who is currently in the 31st position. No, actually, he is more than that. He's about 23 laps down, is the 45 car. Green flag's going to come back out here pretty much right at the halfway point. Next time around, we are halfway home. Remember, these drivers, they can make it anywhere from 19 to 21 laps, though we're still seeing them pitting somewhere around 17 to 19 laps. So these drivers should be able to make it the rest of the way on one more pit stop, but we've seen our first 2 cautions of the season here tonight, and we may not have seen our last one in this evening's races. Ooh, they check up a little bit there on that outside line from Martin back to Harris, back to Martel, back to Coate. But up front, it's the Chevrolets of Wesley and Shelton. Green flag back in the air. Wesley going to edge ahead by a half a car length, now a full car length, getting into turn 1. Shelton trying to get the outside line going with pole sitter Joe DeSpirito, but Inside line prevails. Top two clear for the top two positions. Wesley and Paglia to the point. Dalton tried to tuck down there into the third position, but now that hole is filled in by Bob Seminara. Donnie Garrett right there as well. All of a sudden, these guys that ended up having to EOL coming down a closed pit road under our first caution find themselves back up here inside of the top 10. The 712, the 77, the 24, and the 43. And Dante Ricky apparently feels it's time to go. We saw him up at the front earlier, back in the second green flag run, but then he faded to the back of the pack again, where he spent most of the first run. The only winner so far this season, winning the season opener last week, as inside line continues to prevail for the moment. Seminara now jumping up the outside line, picking up Shelton, DeSpirito, Martin as well. I think that's Glenn Harris, as well as Stefan Martel on that outside line, and Seminara making some speed in that middle line. He's gotten up to Donnie Garrett, now gets alongside of Mark Paglia, who had his two left sides down on the apron. That's going to stifle out that inside line even more, and Seminara might be alongside Grant Wesley by the time they get to start finish line. He might lead this lap. It's going to be close, and I think he got it. What does the ticker say? They give the lap to the 712. So Seminara to the point, but not by much. Wesley battling back on the bottom. Now that middle line on the straightaway is going to kick in. And Seminara, let's see if he's going to be able to edge ahead. And oh, he does. Look at the speed on that top side. Seminara is clear. Shelton is clear. Three cars nearly cleared themselves from the inside line there on just one straightaway alone. Wesley trying to battle back again on that inside line, but we're seeing that middle groove coming into play. That inside line really seems to only be good on the initial restarts. Like the first couple corners of a restart, it will forge ahead, but then you want to jump up to that middle line because it has so much momentum, and it's got a lot of numbers up there as well. Seminara, Shelton, and DeSpirito, Martin, Harris, Martel is up there also. Doug Woolley in the 99. I mean, they're all lined up in that middle line for about 13, 14 cars on back. And now Martin's going to jump to the inside line. That Domino's Dodge trying to see what he can do to help the inside line. And he actually might pay for it, because look at Glenn Harris, who was behind him. He's about to get up alongside the 43. And now all of a sudden everybody's going down to the bottom. But a couple of cars getting that apron coming off of turn 4, including the 28 of Paglia. Top 4 are clear. Harris is barely clear there in the 08. Now the question is, do they stay up in that middle line or do they jump to the bottom? Looks like for the moment, the 712 very content to let his left side straddle the first set of dotted white lines through the first two corners. Shelton, DeSpirito, and Harris following him. All Camaros right there. Then you've got the Toyota of Stefan Martel, who we did not see in last week's race, making his first start of the season right now in the 5th position, looking awfully good. Now, these drivers all went back green at lap 32. If, and I put this in huge capital letters and put air quotes around it, if we manage to go green the rest of the way, final pit stop of the day will be taking place somewhere in the vicinity of laps 49 to 51. And that should see them clear to make it the rest of the way on fuel. Ooh, Chuck McClure back there, moving up to the middle line, just in front of Josh Metallic. And that inside line continuing to struggle. Richard Martin jumped down there to help. He was up to the 3rd position at the time when he made the move, actually 4th. He's now dropped back to the 6th position. He and Grant Wesley continuing to try and move that inside line forward, but it's not working. And we've now got a 3rd lane. Chuck McClure in the 17 has jumped up to the extreme outside line. Josh Metallic's going to go up there with him. And this is when you start to get the sense that more than likely that final pit stop may not take place under green flag conditions, because we're back to 3 wide racing. This is where we've seen at least one of our cautions come out for. The other one was for a pit road incident as Perry Bond moved up just a little. McClure moved down just a little coming off of turn 2. That was a close call. And remember those drivers that got involved in the last caution? We were kind of wondering how they'd fare damage-wise. Well, we're getting the answer. A couple of these guys they're trying to hold on to the tail end of the draft, but Dave Melson, you see that car is not 100% up to speed aerodynamically, and the same for Benoit Plourde. Melson nosed it hard in the inside wall, and Plourde nosed into the outside wall under that last caution on the back straightaway. Jump back up to the 3-wide battle, as right now top 3 are still clear on the outside lineup at the front. It looks like maybe we'll settle this back out to double wide, at least for the most part. McClure, Metallic, Coat. They're not going to go to the middle groove, but we're still 3 wide. Manny D now caught in the middle with Perry Bond. Top side, it's Jeffrey Elliott, Carson Krentz, as well as Terry Bombard and Chris Elliott in the 9. Trying to get around the 60 machine, who might tuck down to the inside of Wade Primnow here, and does, so we're back to double wide at the rear. Up front, though, we're back to 3 wide. Boy, Paglia in that 28 cannot hold that inside line for anything, it seems. That car has been out of shape on the inside line just about every time that we're up here towards the front. Car pushes up, entering the corner, flips the apron through the tri-oval. I want to look around that 28 car, because that might be where we see our next caution take place if he can't get that Ford Mustang under control. Donnie Garrett, no love for the 77. He is trapped in the sucker hole. He is going back, and going back in a hurry. There is no lifeline for him. Nobody has jumped to that middle groove. I've been there. I know that feeling. And it is a lonely feeling, and it's a feeling of, when am I going to have this end? Where can I find a hole to tuck in? And right now, there is no room inside, no room outside. He's going to drop back maybe outside of the top 20 here when all is said and done. And Donnie Garrett needs a good run here tonight as well. Did not run well in terms of the finishing result last week, as we nearly had a wreck right there. Stefan Martel and Mark Paglia almost got together coming out of turn 2. And now Bob Seminara, who's run the last few laps in the middle line, he's now, oh, Wesley! Great save by the 88. Not sure if he got a bump from behind by Paglia or not. But Seminara now jumps to the bottom, and that was a close call, and nice job by everybody to give the 88 room to recover. Ooh, Donnie Garrett nearly went up and got the wall there going into the tri-oval, and now Paglia is down the apron. What's the 28 doing? We got a spinner. Stefan Martel, middle of the pack. He clips Bob Dixon in the 143. Caution's going to wave. Terry Bombard gets a piece of it as well in the 10 machine. Third caution of the night's going to come out here, I think. Yes, it does. I was waiting to see if the pace car was going to come out. The leaders have not taken the caution. That wreck apparently took place after the leader had crossed the start-finish line. The caution waved after the leader had crossed the start-finish line, so these drivers are actually coming back to the yellow flag. It is frozen field. But Bob Seminara, Jessica Shelton, Joe DeSpirito, Richard Martin, and Grant Wesley going to be the top 5, and I thought the wreck was going to start with the 28, but it actually happened a few cars behind him with Stefan Martel in the 57. It looks like Martel might have gotten a little bit of help there in the center of the tri-oval. So this caution comes out on lap 44. We'll probably be going back green somewhere around lap 47, 48, which means we're going to be about 18 to 19 laps away from the finish of this race. It's going to be close on fuel. We'll have to see if anyone's going to have to do some saving here. Because remember, most drivers have been coming to pit road about laps 17 to 19 on a run. But we'll wait and see. Let's go back to look at replay of what brought the caution, as I'm pretty certain everybody is going to be on pit road here under this yellow, and it's going to come down to who's going to make it on fuel. Of course, let's not forget, too, that if a caution comes out with about 4 laps to go, race ends under yellow, so you do have the opportunity, if a caution comes out then, to maybe save enough fuel to make it to the end, if it really is that close. But this could be a fuel strategy game, and A week ago, it came down to really pit strategy, who you pit with, due to the fact that we had, what, 3 rounds of green flag pit stops, I think it was, and no caution to help bunch everybody else back up. We've had 3 cautions here tonight, and it looks actually the contact was actually between the 2 drivers that, for the most part, got involved in this wreck for the mainstay. That was the 143 of Bob Dixon and the 57 of Stefan Martel. Martel's the car in the middle. Watch here going through the tri-oval, and looks like, oh, Martel just came down. Dixon held his line. Martel came down. A little bit of contact there to the passenger side door of Dante Ricky, and then Terry Bombard went up, and he might have actually gotten into the side of the 60 of Perry Bond. We'll wait and see about that, as this caution is actually going to give a lap to Bobby Farrell. See about this 10 machine. Terry Bombard, who had just gotten back on the lead lap after the last caution, and I thought he got into the 143 of Bob Dixon, but it might have actually been the 60 of Perry Bond that he got into, trying to avoid the 143. As I hit the wrong key. Apologies there. And keep an eye there on the blue number 10 as he's going to move up. And, yep, make some contact there with Perry Bond. Bond bounces off the outside wall. No real visible damage, so he should be okay. But those drivers getting a little bit of the action there with that incident just out of the tri-oval. The caution's out for the 3rd time here tonight. And we've seen the wrecks take place in just about every portion of the racetrack as well. Dante Ricky actually deciding to stay out and lead a lap. That's interesting. Dante coming in the points leader, has not led a lap yet this evening, and so decides to get the bonus point now. Will be giving up quite a bit of track position as a result, but we've seen him running towards the back for a majority of this race. He was up around the 10th, 11th position when that incident occurred, and actually did get a little piece of the incident also as Dixon came down into the right side of his Subway Toyota. And you see him staying out an extra lap. I think the 84 is thinking the same thing I'm thinking, that this could be really close on fuel. He's going to come down pit road when we hit 1 to go. See Shelton back there and Grant Wesley. They've already been to pit road, but I would expect to see a number of these drivers that have already pitted. Either they're going to save a lot here under pacing, or they are going to be coming back down pit road to top off the fuel tank. Because I think we're going to be right on the edge of these drivers being able to make it if we go green the rest of the way from here to the checkered flag. But as we wait for that 1 to green signal, looks like it might be next time around. We're going to take another commercial break. You won't miss a thing. We're going to go FRN side by side. You'll get to see if any of these drivers decide to come down, top off the fuel tank when we get the 1 to green signal. We'll be back here for hopefully the finish here this evening in race number 2 of the RTG Talladega Challenge.
Since the VFW was founded, their mission was really to look out for the veterans community, to make sure that our nation upholds its promise to really care for the service member, the veteran, and his or her family. There are several ways that the VFW fights for veterans today. The top services include disability claims assistance, advocacy on Capitol Hill and with the Department of Veterans Affairs. We also offer scholarship opportunities, and then also volunteerism. For me personally, when I came back from Iraq, my life experience was drastically different from those around me, and the veterans of foreign wars really spoke to me. The reason I would encourage veterans who have served overseas today to join the VFW is because this is your organization. The VFW is for veterans. Every generation, a new generation of leaders steps up in the veterans of foreign wars and fights for the veterans community.
The Veterans of Foreign Wars. No one does more for veterans. For more information on the VFW, go to ahctv.com/sacrifice.
Getting ready for what might possibly be the finish here tonight of race number 2 of season 51 of the RTG Talladega Challenge. And we're here at up and down pit road. It's close on fuel. You saw a number of drivers come to pit lane to top off the fuel tank, including Dante Ricky, Perry Bond, Chris Elliott, Glenn Harris, Chuck McClure, Josh Metallic, Mark Paglia, John Godfrey, Terry Bombard, Mike Rogers, and others. Shelton is going to be the leader when we go back green. Her first lap sled of the season. It'll be Shelton and Wesley the front row, followed by Martin, Despirito, and Seminara the top 5, as the green flag will be in the air with a total of 18, make it 19 laps to go. That's right on the edge of how far these drivers can make it on fuel. And you see Sonny Tallman, the 55, dropping back. He might be dropping back to try and save a little bit of fuel here if we do manage to go green the rest of the way. Shelton with no help on that inside line. Wesley's going to go to the point with help from Despirito. Those two on the top side will go to the front. Shelton's falling to the back. So too is Wiley Coate in the 6. And some of this might be by design. Shelton might not want to be the one out in front leading, because remember, if it's that close on fuel, Shelton would be the one using up the most fuel for everybody else if she's out in that clean air. So now Grant Wesley, if he's close on fuel, he's going to have to figure out a way to save, at the same time running out there in the clean air, giving everybody else the draft. Now, if we drop back here, of the drivers that came to pit road, Josh Metallic is the highest of those. He just crossed the line last time by. And, oh, we got a spinner! Donnie Garrett, the big one is struck! Metallic up hard into the wall. Bernie Mobs collected, and several others scattering as Chris Elliott, Glenn Harris make more contact. The Krispy Kreme machine is barrel rolling into the grass. The big one has struck at Talladega. And now the fuel situation is completely out the window. We've got a bunch of torn up race cars. Wiley Coate was involved. There's the 9 of Elliott. Mike Rogers may have gotten a piece in the 11. And we're going to have to look back at the replay because there were a lot of drivers that got involved in this one. Bernie Mobs, I know, is in it. Metallic, I know, is in it. Elliser, Glenn Harris. Wayne Prim now looks like he may have gotten involved. That car looks like that's been up and over. And we got a driver coming to pit road. That's the 99 of Doug Woolley. He might have been involved. And now all of those drivers that may have been close on fuel, if they so chose, they could come down pit road again now and more than likely be able to make it the rest of the way on fuel, as this next time by will be 16 laps to go. That's well within the window of drivers being able to make it. Or if they were that close, they could use this caution period to just save the fuel they need to be able to make it the rest of the way. So this caution very timely for those drivers that decide to stay out, keep the track position, and risk having to try and save maybe about a half a lap to make it the rest of the way on fuel. Those drivers that pitted and were in the mid-pack area were the ones that were caught up. Josh Metallic, Chris Elliott, those were a couple of drivers that came to pit road to top off the fuel tank when we got to 1 to green on the restart. Let's go back and see what happened. Big wreck this time, and it started with the 77 of Donnie Garrett right in the center of the corner. That's one of the worst places for it to happen because sure as shooting, that car that spins out on the inside is more than likely going to come right back up the racetrack, and we'll see where the contact was. Actually, it might have started with the 99 of Doug Woolley. That might be why we saw him coming to pit road. He might have taken responsibility for causing that wreck and was coming down pit road to serve an EOL penalty. But let's see what happens here. Purple machine of Donnie Garrett moves to the inside line. That's Woolley in the target car right behind him. Oh, it's so hard to tell there. Yeah, Wiley Coe got involved. John Godfrey was in it. Benoit Plore, Terry Bombard, just barely on the right side of your screen and spinning through the grass. And a number of drivers took some hard hits there into the outside wall, including Elliott, Mobbs, Metallic, Glenn Harris. We're going to follow the 39 of Metallic here. Take a look at the hard hit that he had into the outside wall, as I believe it was a combination of Garrett and Mobbs. I'm sorry, actually make it Mobbs and Elliott that got up into him. Mike Rogers further back there. A couple of drivers did a nice job getting through, including Stefan Martel. Mark Paglia got through it. Perry Bond. Metallic's car smoking. His day is done. Reminds me of a wreck that Metallic was involved in last season. Just about the same situation, too. Innocent victim on the outside line, and a driver slid up into him and put him up into the fence, and up and over he went. We're going to take a look at the driver that we talked with just prior to this race, Glenn Harris. These races, it's all about being in the right place at the right time, and sometimes it works in your favor. Sometimes it doesn't. Unfortunately, it was not the case here for Glenn Harris in the 08. Trying to figure out where to go. Almost had it missed, and then Garrett comes up the track and gets him, and then he goes up and into Chris Elliott. And both the 9 and the 08 up and over. Bill Elliser almost had the whole thing missed. Look at Sonny Tallman come to a complete stop to avoid. And Wiley Cope back there, I don't know how much damage he got. I saw him go up into the outside wall and broadside it pretty good with the right side. Let's see what happened with the left side. Oh, I think he may have actually gotten a hit from behind as well from Mike Rogers in the 11. The hit he gets first is right there when Harris gets into him, and then, oh yeah, then Mike gets into the back of him, spins him around. Oh, and then the car grip flipped over. Wow, the whole car just tipped right over. That's where he got involved. Now, I thought I saw roof damage, and maybe it was just a visual error on my part, but I thought I saw roof damage on the 00 of Wayne Pribnow. But yet I don't recall seeing him get involved in this wreck. We're gonna go back and see if indeed he did get a piece of it. And no, he did not. He actually just went up into the outside wall to avoid. So let's actually take an onboard with the 00 and see what he saw, as he was one of the few to actually get by unscathed using the outside line, which was pretty much blocked up for the entirety of the track. Ooh, look at that, using the wall to scrub off speed, and there you see the secondary contact between Harris and Elliott. And yeah, he may have scuffed up the right side of the machine, but he got through pretty well clean, as squeezed by Terry Bombard there as well. Nice avoidance by Wayne Pribnow in the 00 machine. That keeps his hopes alive of at least making it to the conclusion of this race. But one driver that will not, and that is going to be Josh Metallic, who has taken his car back behind the wall. Also, Doug Woolley in the 99 has taken his car back behind the wall, and actually just realized that the 00 Wayne Pribnow, I thought he was on the lead lap. He's actually 3 laps down, about to get the lucky dog here. 22 laps down is Bobby Farrell in the 45. He is also about to go around and get his lap back. A tough break there for Josh Metallic and Doug Woolley. Metallic came into this race 10th in the point standings. Doug Woolley came in 11th, tied for 11th in points with Sonny Tallman. And I mentioned the fact that it's a big opportunity early on in the season for drivers to gain positions in the standings. Well, on the flip side, it's also an opportunity for drivers, if they hit hard luck early on in the season, to lose a number of spots in the standings. So Metallic and Woolley are two drivers that can find themselves having to try and be on the road to recovery in the next few races, as it's only a 10-race regular season and a 5-race playoff system. So not a lot of time for drivers, if they have a poor performance in a number of the early races, to be able to bounce back in the final 5 races of the regular season. Green flag will come back out. It's going to be with 13 laps to go. These drivers can absolutely make it on fuel now. You see them still clutching, though. You can always tell when the cars bog down and pop back up that they have dumped the clutch and then gotten back into the throttle, turned the engine back on. So they've had about 3-4 laps to be able to save fuel, which means they should have been able to save anywhere from a lap and a half to maybe 2 laps of fuel now. Should be good to go the rest of the way. But have we seen our last caution of the evening? We'll have to wait and see. Now these drivers know they're good to go on fuel. We're going to see the action ramp up as well, so we may not have seen our last caution of the night as well. And bear in mind, a lot of these drivers, they don't look at this as a 66-lap race. Some of them look at it as a 62-lap race, because past that point, any caution prior to the white flag coming out ends the race under yellow. And so for a lot of drivers, that is the race to the checker flag when it starts at the completion of lap 62 on to 63. Well, folks, want to give you an idea of what's coming up ahead here on the Flatout Racing Network. Tomorrow night, RTG is back, but on the iRacing side, as the RTG iRacing Dirt Series will be taking place this tomorrow evening here on Flatout Racing Network. And then also the Rapid Fire Pizza National Series. They have their final regular season race from Richmond. 12 drivers will be named playoff contenders at the conclusion of that one. Then on Saturday, we've got the Chris Cup Series. They're going to be at Phoenix to crown a champion for that series. Soda Cup Series, guys, they're going to have their second race of the playoffs at the Richmond International Raceway to see who's going to be moving on to the second round of the playoffs. So a lot coming up here in the latter part of this week. Be sure to tune into that, but we got to find out who's going to pick up the second race win of the season here in Season 51 of the Talladega Challenge, as it's Grant Wesley, second in the points, Joe DeSpirito, third in the standings. They're your front row, leading us back to the green. 13 laps to go here tonight at Talladega. Again, these drivers, like I said, a lot of them racing to lap 62 as Richard Martin gets out of shape there in the 43. So how soon do you make your move, or how long do you wait? Wesley's got himself a pretty sizable lead here. That's not exactly a good thing when it comes to a super speedway. Watch that top side. DeSpirito with help from John Elliott as well as Bob Seminara. And they've got a big push on that outside line. And it is going to be the 24 going to the race lead. Trying to go coast to coast here tonight. He almost had a shot of doing it last week, but came up just short, finishing third. And DeSpirito now to the point. The defending champion leading the way. The 56, though, right behind him. What a great run here tonight for Jeffrey Elliott. Elliott was involved in a wreck. He was involved in the first big one on the back straightaway, but has been able to recover into the second position. Bob Seminara now into third as they are 3 wide. Bob Dixon caught in the middle. McClure and Paglia on the top side. Shelton and Melson on the inside. How about a 13 of Melson? What a great recovery for him. Melson hit the outside wall with the rear end of his car, the inside wall with the front end of his car, and somehow, some way, that car is still back up here and in the hunt possibly for a win. Three wide at the front. 2-car tandem on that outside line is working with McClure and Paglia. Now they've got help. Perry Bond and Stefan Martel going to go up there with them, as now it's only 2 cars in the middle. Seminara and McClure may have made a little bit of contact there off of turn 2 as Seminara's car pushed up. And all of a sudden, Jeffrey Elliott Bob Seminara, no help. Here comes Terry Bombard to try and see if he can get that middle line going. He's going to pull up to the back bumper of the 712. Is up at the front. You've got the front 4, now 5, single file. Seminara, Wesley, Martin, Shelton, and Melson. And your top 3 were contenders for the championship last season. Despirito, Wesley, and Martin. Got drivers back there that have lost the lead group. They're hoping to see another caution come out here so that way they could pick up some spots and thusly pick up some points. Take a look back here at the 6th position. Last week's winner, Dante Ricky, has back up into the vicinity. Looking for back-to-back victories. Now Shelton's going to jump up there and help that outside line. Martin tries to do the same but couldn't. Shelton was already to his right rear quarter panel. Now Shelton's going to tuck in line behind the 43. Now Wesley moves high, moves low. Despirito cannot block. Here comes Wesley for the race lead. Shelton with a big push though. She may take it 3 wide through the tri-oval. Around the outside comes Shelton. Help from Dante Ricky. Wesley and Martin on the inside. Here comes McClure. Shoved to Despirito through the middle. It seems like a question of when. When is someone going to make a mistake? When is someone going to cause the big one, or maybe the second big one of the night, as now Dante Ricky and Shelton on the top side. They are going to the back. No help in the 3rd lane. Middle line is moving. It's McClure pushing Despirito back to the lead. Seminara moving into 3rd. Here comes Perry Bond in the 60. He's now side by side for the 5th position with Richard Martin. Coming closer and closer to lap 62, which would basically be the point of return for these drivers. Race would enter to caution. I think we just had a driver have an incident coming to pit road. I think I just saw some smoke lingering there at pit road entrance. Don't really want to leave this battle for the race lead, though, to be able to find out who it was. But I thought I saw a pair of skin marks and some smoke cloud lingering there just at the pit road entry that last time around through the tri-oval. We'll see if it's still lingering there again. As slow car up ahead. That looks like that is Wiley Coate in the 6th machine. He's going to try and maybe move out of these guys' way as they're going to take him 3 wide. You can see a huge speed difference between these guys and that 6th machine. As now Wesley trying the outside line. Perry Bond's up there with him. Terry Bombard, Mark Paglia, Dante Ricky as well. And here comes Chuck McClure. He's going to jump up to the outside of Joe Despirito for the race lead. And he'll take it. McClure, I'd love to go back and see how long his winless streak has been here in the Talladega Challenge. I know he didn't have a win last season either. Could we have back-to-back winners of drivers who have not won for an entire season or more? Dante Ricky did it last week, and he hadn't won since season 49. And now Chuck McClure showing the way. He's leaving a lot of bottom open there, though, for Grant Wesley to make a move. Harry Bond right there as well in the 3rd position. Not normally up here in a situation like this is Perry Bond. What will he do? Gonna be 6 laps to go when they hit the line this time by. That middle line continues to forge ahead as Terry Bombard now to 4th. Paglia looking to move to 5th. Despirito, Seminara, Martin, and others trying to still get the inside line going. Now Perry Bond takes a look down to the inside to see if he can get some help for the 24 car. Now back up to the top side with Terry Bombard as Grant Wesley has Chuck McClure all to himself for the moment. Which line's going to get the run, the middle or the inside? It's going to be the middle line as Perry Bond back up to the bumper of the 88. Got a lot of momentum, but not enough to make a move, and not really anybody just enough behind him to help push him if he were to make a move. Look at the Subway Alliance back there. Dante Ricky, he's picked up Sonny Tallman. We've seen these drivers work together all season long. I think if they complete the next lap after this one, we'd be in that point of no return. A caution would be raced back and race would enter to yellow. Let's see if they can get back to the completion of lap 62. We'll go back, if Chuck McClure does complete this win, we'll go back and find out afterwards how long it's been since his last win, but I don't want to take my eyes off of this because this is starting to get really, really good. We've seen them 3 wide all the way through the field here tonight, something we didn't get to see a whole lot of in last week's season debut race. And Grant Wesley who last week finished runner-up to Dante Ricky, does not want to have back-to-back second-place finishes. We got some drivers pitting. That was Bobby Farrell in the 45. I couldn't tell who the other machine was. As 62 is complete, any caution that comes out between now and the end of the race, unless we get to the white flag, it will be raced back to the caution and the race will end under yellow. And they're getting racy. Oh, Terry Bombard gets down to Dante Ricky. That's going to cause a wreck. Caution's going to wave. We're racing back to the checkers. Big wreck as another car up and over. Terry Bombard is flipping. Several drivers scattered there through the field. Grant Wesley to the inside of Chuck McClure for the top position. Paglia is with him. Perry Bond now on the outside with McClure. Another wreck. There goes Perry Bond to the wall. Despirito as well. McClure's going to pitch the 88 down as best he can. Paglia's got Grant Wesley, though, going to push him out in front. Grant Wesley's going to win here tonight under the caution flag. The second race of the season goes to the 88 machine. There's going to be a lot to look at here, as these drivers will finish the final 3 laps of this race under the caution. And Grant Wesley is going to be your race winner. Paglia helping to push Grant there, and just look at the smoke. Looks like these drivers are going through fog here on the back straightaway. A number of drivers all over the back straightaway when we saw the wreck happen. And I think it started with the 10 of Terry Bombard. Not sure that wreck actually that big wreck could have been avoided, because Terry went up into the outside wall. Everybody appeared to give him a lot of room, and he just came back down the track into the 84 of Dante Ricky. We'll go back and look at the replay here. That was just from my initial standpoint. It looked like the 10 could have kept it up in the wall, and we actually could have gotten away with not having a yellow flag come out. Richard Martin, his car is smoking. Bob Dixon was up and over. I mean, we'll look at the replay here, but it really looked like to me that the 10 car, when he got up into the wall, he could have kept it up there, but instead he came back down and got into the 84 of Dante Ricky. Let's watch this. Perry Bond's going to be the one that makes the contact there with Terry. Yeah. When you get up into the wall, the driver's first instinct is to turn it off of the wall, and Ty Jones was involved. Manny D was involved. There's the 143 of Bob Dixon. He's actually gotten through at that point. Wade Primnow actually got a piece of that also in the 00. But Dixon got involved in something further up here, and you're going to see here Terry Bombard going to help Bob Dixon out and try and flip the 143 back over so he can at least get back to the start-finish line, at least finish out this race. Let's take a look and see what happened to a couple of our other drivers here. About the 84 of Dante Ricky. Let's see who may or may not have gotten into him. A number of other drivers got involved in that wreck off of turn 4. Well, Stefan Martel took a pretty good shot. See it right here. Other drivers that got collected up in it. Oh, Cy Jones got completely clobbered on the passenger side. There's Wayne Prim now, right side of your screen. Stefan Martel went down, hit that inside wall a ton. I don't know who got into him. See if we can find out here. Hard to tell. He might have gotten a little bit, might have been maybe the 00 of Wayne Primnow up ahead of him. Or maybe Carson Krentz in the 03 behind him. Let's see. Yep, Primnow. Primnow got him. And he went straight down to the inside wall. Now, where's the 143 of Dixon? Oh, he gets Manny D, who slid back up the racetrack, just completely clobbered him. Now, we had this wreck further up here. Oh, gracious. 60 of Perry Bond. Dave Melson took a hard shot. Oh, and then Shelton gets into Richard Martin when he came back down the racetrack. We'll go back and look at this one again. And there was a lot of stuff that took place in the wreck off of turn 4, and I think we'll actually, well, I thought we might get a shot of it from Richard Martin's point of view, but we actually do have to go to the 60 machine of Perry Bond, who made the contact that initially started the wreck on the back straightaway. Going to be contact between himself and I think the 28 of Paglia, or maybe DeSpirito and the 24, who had a big run. Oh, Paglia bumper grabs the 24 up into the 60, actually. Jeffrey Elliott gets involved. Ooh, then the 60 starts warping. Richard Martin gets into him. There's another car that took a pretty good shot into the inside wall. I couldn't tell who that was. I think it actually might have been the 13 of Dave Melson. Watch on the bottom left of your screen, you'll see the contact. The 28 moves the 24 up into the 60. And then the 60 starts warping, gets the 43. Watch the 13 come back over on the left side of your screen. Wow, it's a hard shot into the inside wall. And then Shelton, nowhere to go. The hole was there, and then it just closed up in a split second. She had nowhere to go as the 43 car was completely out of control. And boy, I'll bet that maybe that second wreck was more violent than the first wreck here, coming to the proverbial checkered flag. Now, Richard Martin, despite the fact that his car looks like it belongs in the junkyard, he's still out there smoking, trying to see if he can salvage what would be the 14th position. Shelton's still out there trying to get 15th. As up front, though, Grant Wesley received the white flag the last time by, and this time by, the checkered flag is going to be in the hand of the flagman. We mentioned the fact that Grant's not going to be in next week's race, as he's going to be down in Bristol, Tennessee, enjoying the Bristol Night Race for the NASCAR Cup Series. Second place last week, win here tonight, getting maximum points heading to his off week next week. And Grant Wesley, of course, also trying to get a little bit of redemption, as he came up short last season of winning the championship here in the Talladega Challenge. But tonight, he's going to be going to victory lane for the first time here in season 51 in the Talladega Challenge. Mark Paglia will finish second, Chuck McClure in third. Looks like Joe DeSpirito Bob Seminara and Joe DeSpirito going to be the completion of the top 5. And you just see all the wounded race cars cycling by. Shelton, Martin, Melson, Ribnow, all these drivers took some pretty hard shots there in their respective wrecks. But trying to salvage what they can, because every point matters, every position matters. And at the end of the regular season, it could come down between whether you're going to be a contender for the playoffs or not. Grant Wesley's got to make his way back around this 2.66 mile super speedway before he can get to burn it down. Grant's last win in the Talladega Challenge was last season. He was a multi-time winner last season, but his last win in season 50, I'm not going to be able to find that statistic just yet, as Wesley's going to burn it down here in the infield grass before we even get into the start-finish line. Like, the website's having a little bit of a problem here, so I'm not able to give the statistic right now, but I know that he at least had one win last year because he won the season 50 season opener. And now we get to find out. Let's see, Wesley's last win was August 6th. It was the 14th race of the season. So he only went, 2 races before finally finding victory lane again, if you include in that long off season as well. Grant was a 4-time winner last year in the Talladega Challenge, and trying to see if he can become a multi-time winner this season as well, pick up his first checkered flag here in the second race of the season. So Dante Ricky got him last week, but this week Grant Wesley finishes one position better and continues to burn it down here at Talladega. Let's look at the full finish results from this race. And it will be Wesley, Paglia, McClure, Seminara, and Despirito, your top 5. A great run there for Chuck McClure. There's a number of drivers that really needed good runs here today to be able to make sure they got themselves back into contention. Mark Paglia being one of those. He was 23rd last week, runner-up here tonight. Bob Seminara was 20th last week, finished in 4th. But then you look at guys like Wesley, McClure, and Despirito. These are going to be guys we're going to be seeing maybe up in the top 3 when we get to next week's Talladega race, due to the fact that Wesley was 2nd last week, Despirito was 3rd, and McClure was 7th in the season opener. Look at the rest of your top 10 here as well. Jeffrey Elliott, a great run for him in 6th. Sonny Tallman brings it home in 7th. Sonny has got an 11th and a 7th place run in his first 2 debut races in this series. Donnie Garrett, there's another driver that needed a good run here tonight. After finishing 21st last week, he's going to finish 8th here this evening. John Godfrey, after his car was up into the air, the rear end of the car came completely off the ground during the second caution. He'll finish 9th. And Benoit Plord, good run for him there in 11th. How about Carson Krentz? Didn't really talk a whole lot about him here today, but we mentioned the fact that tonight was his debut, at least here on Flatout Racing Network's coverage of the Talladega Challenge. He's going to bring it home in 11th place. 12th for Dave Melson. That car was all crunched up even before he hit the inside wall near pit road, getting involved in that wreck coming to the checkered flag, but he still finishes 12th. Richard Martin, smoking, still finished 13th. Jessica Shelton, car all torn up as she clobbered Martin in the tri-oval. She still gets 14th, and Mike Rogers brings it home in the 15th position. The drivers, though, that really needed good runs or had good runs coming into this race that did not get them here today. One of them that really stands out is last week's winner, Dante Ricky, getting involved there in that wreck on the back straightaway. He's going to finish last car in the lead lap at 22nd. Terry Bombard, who failed to make the start last week, 17th here tonight, so a lot of work for him to do. And you look down here at the drivers that really struggled this evening. Josh Metallic's going to be dropping in the points. Doug Woolley's going to be dropping in the points, as will Glenn Harris. They all DNF'd from this race, and a number of other drivers going to be finding themselves in a bit of a situation when we get to next week's race, but that's the beauty of Talladega. One week it goes your way, some weeks it doesn't, but you never know which way of the spectrum it's actually going to be on. Let's get the word with some of our top 3 finishers here tonight. Why don't we kick things off with our 3rd place finisher, Chuck McClure? Hey, Chuck, it's Seth up here on the Flatout Racing Network Studios. You got me?
Hey, Seth, how you doing?
Well, I'm doing great, man. You had a heck of a run here tonight. You got yourself up there to the front, closing in on that point of no return where the caution would come out and the race would enter the yellow. But, man, you had that move made on you there by the 88 and the 28. Was there any way you could have kept them in your rearview mirror, knowing you guys were basically racing back to the caution and the checkered flag?
I knew that was going to happen. I suppose I should be lucky to be the second loser, 3rd place, whatever you want to call it. But it was fun, and I knew it was coming. I just didn't know when.
You know, we talked about the fact, too, just before bringing you in, the fact that you had a great run in the season opener, finishing 7th place. You followed up with a 3rd place run here. You weren't in the playoffs last season, so is that the goal for this 17 car this year?
Yeah, I'm usually always in it, and last year was a real bad season for me. But yeah, I need to get in it this season for sure.
You know, last week we ended up seeing the race go completely caution-free. We had 3 rounds of green flag pit stops, but here tonight we saw quite a number of yellow flags and a lot of hard hits taken. How difficult was it to strategize in this race as opposed to last week, knowing you had more of an opportunity of maybe being involved in a wreck?
Yeah, those always scare me. I was really close to a couple of them, and yeah, I don't like to be around those things. I'd rather see it go green. That being said, if it had gone green better for me last week and not sped through pit road, maybe I'd have finished a little better. But that didn't happen, and we got a 7th and 3rd tonight, and just glad to be here.
Well, Chuck, a great run for you. Great start to the season as well. Back-to-back top 10 runs and a top 5 here this evening. We're going to do some shout-outs now.
Well, I appreciate you guys for putting this on, and RTG, all the admins over there. They do a great job, and you've probably seen that. Um, yeah, it's probably the best super speedway place to race, and it's a blast.
Well, that's Chuck McClure. He brings it home 3rd place here this evening. Again, congrats on a great start to the season, and good luck next week.
Appreciate it.
And let's see if we can get our 2nd place finisher in here, Mark Paglia. driver of the 28. And boy, what a huge difference between this week and last week. And it looks like we may not actually be able to get a word with Paglia. It looks like he may have already disconnected from the team speak. So that's unfortunate, especially because he's one of the drivers that really struggled last week, and this is going to be huge gains for him in the point standings because of a 23rd to second place run in the span of a week. So unfortunately, we can't talk with him, but we can go down to victory lane and we can talk with our race winner. That, of course, is Grant Wesley. And let's see what he has to say, picking up his first win here of season 51. Hey Grant, it's Seth up here in the Flatout Racing Network studios. You got me?
Hey, Seth. Good to see you.
Well, man, I mean, right place, right time. Caution comes out. You guys knew you were racing to the checkered flag. You were able to make that move on the inside work, but if you didn't have that 28 back there offering the drafting help, looked like the 17 was going to pinch you down. So then what do you do in that kind of a situation racing back in the tri-oval?
Oh, man. Well, that's always coming down, especially on the last lap. You just never really know what to do. You're almost driving as much in the mirror as you are out your hood. And but yeah, man, those last 10 laps, they were something else. I know I was there behind Joe, and I went to go poke my nose outside of him, and he kind of ran me up the hill a little bit. Did exactly what he should have done and probably what I would have done. And I seen the bottom lane was still open, so I crossed him over and took the bottom. And I thought, all right, it looked like Joe was in the sucker hole. I thought he was going backwards, and then out of nowhere, here comes the middle lane. They shot out to the front, and we went to the back. And man, that was so much fun there at the end.
I want to go back to when we had that caution come out with about 22 laps to go. You drivers were right on the window of maybe being able to make it on fuel, and you chose the strategy of staying out, trying to save the fuel to make it to the end, taking the track position. Saw a lot of those drivers that decided to top off, get involved in that big wreck just a couple of laps later. Just how close were you guys on fuel? Would you have been able to make it if we had gone green from that point to the checkers?
Yeah, with 22 to go, especially with me being out front with that strategy call, there's no way I could have made it. I was banking 100% on another caution coming out. But, with these races, they tend to run on momentum. I mean, a lot of times when they start running, we get green flag pit stops, one or two of them in. A lot of times it goes green all the way. But if you start getting cautions, it kind of screws with the guys a little bit. So I was pretty well banking on another caution. I needed at least one, maybe even two to make it.
We obviously have documented the fact that you're not going to be here next week. So obviously you wanted to get the best maximum points of these first two races when you take that off week next week. However, though, last week you finished runner-up in that race to Dante Ricky. Does a second place finish at a track like Talladega just give you that added motivation the following week to get one position better?
Oh man, I hate finishing second. I think most all racers do. It's in our DNA. Yeah, it definitely makes you hungrier for that win. But yeah, next week I'm taking off. I'm going to Bristol, Tennessee for the night race for a little bachelor party fun. And so yeah, getting this win and locking me into that chase definitely helps a lot. I kind of wish I could be here to run for the points because with this new chase format, they actually award, I think it's 3 bonus points to the regular season champion. So whoever gets that, that'll be a big help for the chase also.
Well, Grant, a tremendous start to the season. Best start of any driver by far. Second place last week. Winner here tonight. Congrats on a great start to the season. We look forward to see what you do for the remainder of this regular season. As you mentioned, already locked into the playoffs. You made it into the Final Four last year with a shot of winning the championship. So we look forward to see what you do in the upcoming weeks. But we're going to let you do some shout-outs now.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd like to, first thank Chuck and Demar and Jessica Shelton. I know there's a few, Mark Paglia. I know there's a few other guys that worked with me pretty good tonight. I appreciate all the help. You guys are absolutely what made tonight possible to put me in position. And then I'd like to thank the owners, Terry Bauman, Sean Prime, David Cannon, the admins here on Thursdays, Josh and Wiley, and I think maybe Dante may be helping out as well. And then I'd like to thank my girlfriend, Brittany.
Well, Grant Wesley was a 4-time winner last season. He gets his first win of season 51 here tonight in the second race of the Talladega Challenge. Congrats on a great run. Go enjoy it, and enjoy Bristol next week as well.
Yep, and thanks for the broadcast.
And that will conclude our coverage here this evening. So 2 races, 2 different winners, and 2 drivers that are locked into the playoffs up to this point. Dante Ricky and Grant Wesley. For Wesley, he's looking to make the playoffs for the second straight season. Ricky looking to make the playoffs for the first time since season 49. But what does next week have in store? We know that Wesley's not going to be here. Dante Ricky's got a chance to be the only multi-time winner this season, but there are going to be a lot of hungry drivers looking for their first win of the season and a guaranteed spot in the playoffs as well. Hope that you'll tune in as we'll be having coverage of that next week. Green flag scheduled to fly Thursday at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Again, we've got a lot of stuff coming up here for the remainder of this week. Tomorrow night, we've got RTG back here for the iRacing Dirt Series. The Rapid Fire Pizza National Series end off their regular season at Richmond. And then Saturday, you've got the Chris Cup Series crowned a champion at Phoenix, and the Soda Guys Cup Series, their second playoff race at the Richmond International Raceway as well. Thanks everyone for tuning in here tonight to Flatout Racing Network's coverage of the RTG Talladega Challenge. I've been Seth Cole. Hope you guys enjoy the rest of your Thursday evening. We'll see you guys next Thursday as we continue on the RTG Talladega Challenge on the FRN Flatout Racing Network.